everyone, and welcome to another episode of Adaptations Across Countries. I'm your host, Carrie Anderson. To start off today's episode, I would like to get something out of the way. Oh my God. Oh. Thank you. Now let's talk about the Korean Street Fighter live-action TV series. Yes, that is a thing. What a strange find to become a topic for my show. Indeed, this was hard for me to believe such a thing existed, but here it is. I will preface this by saying it is as low budget as you think it is, and surprisingly better than you think it is. With that also said, research for this has been difficult, but thanks to the help of my Korean friends, I was able to understand more about this show. So first of all, I'm sure you're asking, what is this? This is Street Fighter, sometimes known as the King of the Streets, a live-action Korean TV series based on the popular Capcom game Street Fighter 2. You can even tell with the intro based on how accurately they were able to make the actors look like the characters. Yeah, we'll get to that. Funny enough, this series actually has a middleman of origins. After the release of Street Fighter 2 to arcades in March of 1991, Capcom would license out the franchise to many interested parties, into action figures, Hollywood movies, cartoons, and of course, comic books. Now, comics are an easy enough way to tell your story, but fighting games never really stood for great stories. In fact, if you take a look at the Street Fighter 2 comic compared to the manga, you would see how no one really knew what the actual storyline was for Street Fighter. But one country that really didn't get the story was Hong Kong. In this tight little corner of the world, a manhwa, as it's called, would be made for the Street Fighter 2 game and would eventually be translated into Korean. This would be the basis of the TV series to come. But this is where our problems start. This show was released in 1992, 1 year after Street Fighter 2 was released. Which, if you know anything about production time, is not a lot to get your cast and crew and story all put together. Add on top of that the highly limited budget for Korean original TV series, and you've got a fairly sloppy show. By comparison, The Adventures of Superboy had just ended on US television, and Kyoryu Sentai Zyurenja had just started up in Japan. Both of which, although were not the best in special effects, were still a far cry above what Street Fighter could produce. Of course, with the speed of development also means the show would catch up with the original manhwa, meaning they'd have to deviate from the source material. Though, even then, the manhwa would never be fully translated in Korean. Though, even if they did, I have no idea how they would have handled Balrog turning out to be the T-1000 from Terminator. Now, I say this like I know what I'm talking about, but honestly, it's very difficult to find any information on Hong Kong Street Fighter comic. So, take what I say with a grain of salt, and if I'm able to find any new information on anything relating to the show, I will make a follow-up episode. Now let's get into the story of this show, as it is a very strange departure from what we know of the Street Fighter 2 storyline. This is a post-World War III history, as the Earth has been devastated by nuclear arms. As a result, the best place to live is a location called Science City, where technology thrives. Our protagonists, Ken and Ryu, are a couple of blue-collar martial artists, as they decide to sign up for a martial arts tournament which will let them live in Science City for some reason. But there are many using this tournament for their own nefarious purposes, such as E. Honda and his ruthless gang of thieves, Zangief, who's on a mission from his government, and of course, M. Bison, whose martial arts practice is a long-time rival of Ken and Ryu's school. Pretty typical of any martial arts storyline to take place in a tournament, but with all these characters, the story goes all over the place. Such as Chun-Li, who, after a misunderstanding, kills Ryu and Ken's master and eventually falls in love with Ryu. Blanca, who is a mutated monster that has a little girl for a best friend and is trained by Ken and Ryu's master to utilize his electric powers. And then there's Dulcim. Dulcim is an underling of Bison, who runs a group of ninjas that he struggles to maintain control of, and... Okay, let's talk about this. Yeah, Dulcim is in blackface, and with how grainy the video is, he kind of looks green. What makes this especially weird is that Balrog doesn't have a skin tone change. In addition, Dulcim is more of a Shaolin monk than a yogi, which probably has something to do with him wanting to make him fit better in the general perception of martial artist. I do apologize for showing these very racist depictions, but this is how the show is presented. But speaking of inaccuracies, Balrog is actually some kind of robot, as he gets replaced with himself as each version improves. Though, you want to see something real strange? Here's Ryu's Shoryuken uppercut. And here's his Shoryuken upside down. Why isn't this in Street Fighter V? Huh, game designers? Akuma ain't got nothing on Ryu's upside down Shoryuken! I joke, but in all honesty, some of this fight choreography is great, especially from the 5th episode onward, with a good ebb and flow to who might win the fight. Though what the production crew is really proud of is their wire work, because for whatever reason, everybody can fly. T-Hawk ain't got nothing on Guile. Though what I can't get over is the overabundance of back rubs in this show. From what the show says, it's a way to help their energy flow through their body, but all I see is back rub, back rub, back rub, back rub. Back rub, back rub, back rub, back rub, oh, so masculine, back rub, totally masculine, back rub. Probably the most interesting part of the series is the surprising villain. Spoilers, just to be safe. Ken Masters falls in love with a lady named Julia, but she is forced by her father to be with Vega. Vega, under orders from Bison, uses Julia to trap Ken and imprison him. Still having feelings for him, Julia frees Ken, but Ken believes she's just setting up another trap. In his escape, Ken finds Bison's old master, who had been poisoned by Julia under Bison's orders. In his cave, the old master gives Ken a new back rub of evil, and turns Ken to the dark side. Ken goes on to recruit and take over Bison's reign as he gets revenge on Vega, but in the process, killing Julia. Afterwards, Bison loses his powers and Ken becomes the new villain throughout the rest of the series. Despite all my jokes and nitpicks, I did kinda enjoy the drama of this series. The interpersonal relationships of these characters was very fun to watch. Though some of the best comedic points come from unintentional moments. Back rub! But this series was a part of a popular trend in Korea of making live-action martial arts shows of popular Japanese series, such as Dragon Ball and Fist of the North Star. The biggest problem of this series is the lack of availability. As far as I can tell, there was a VHS release, but never a DVD release. This may be due to licensing, but it's also likely that there's just no interest from anyone about getting Korean Street Fighter re-released to home media or even streaming. But there are a dedicated few who have recently been interviewing the actors from the show, who seem to have very fond memories of their time together, including my Korean friend who brought this up to me a few years back. With him, I hope you do enjoy what you've seen of the series, and although there are no translated subs for it, I hope you can find a way to enjoy it for yourselves. And unfortunately, that's as far as I can talk about the series, sadly, because the last 2 episodes don't seem to be easily available on the internet. But maybe I can make my own ending.
And now for something completely different.
Ken, you must stop. This isn't like you. Says you. I've already beaten Bison for the 3rd time this season, and soon I'll beat Akuma before the series end. Ha 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 ha! There's gotta be something I can do, but of course! Take this, ultimate back rub of goodness! Nah, I fucked it up like that. Take this, ultimate back rub of goodness! Ugh, what have I done? The back rub of evil was clouding my mind. It's okay, now you're back to normal. I love you. I love you too. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
It makes sense if you've seen the show.
꿈의 도시 잠깐 갑니다. 스윗파이터 거리 좀 해줘.
Back rub.